Good day, folks. This is video number 1 in a playlist that's devoted to the 3D Experience CATIA generative shape design application. However, this particular playlist that the video is going to go into is dealing with the transform tab. I already have one for the wireframe tab. I have one for surface tab, and now this is the first one that goes into the transform tab. And the icon that I will be discussing in that uh, uh, playlist, the first one is the offset tab. Offset icon. So when you are in the generative shape design and you select the transform tab, you have access to the offset icon. And the purpose of offset icon is when you have a surface, you can create another surface by drawing the normal to the original surface and offsetting the surface by a certain amount. Okay. All right. Now, when you click on the offset, this dialog box opens up. And of course, we're going to be doing some examples in a minute. However, and there's a help there. However, there are certain things that can be done in the CATIA V5 program that cannot be done in the 3D Experience CATIA when it comes to this offset um, icon or the transfer tab in general. You need to have a license to some other application, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. If you are in the CATIA V5 and you look at this workbench toolbar, you look at this toolbar, there is an offset here, there is a mid-plane, mid-surface there, and there are these two other ones that can also be used called variable offset and rough offset. Now, when you're 3D Experience CATIA generative shape design, the only things that you have access to is the offset and the mid-surface. Now, it is true that they have added something called neutral fiber that we're going to be discussing later on. But the point is that to have access to these two, variable offset and rough offset, you're going to need to have license to generative shape morphing app. And what do I mean by that? If you look at if you look at the apps that you have licensed to, and if you can find generative shape morphing, then you have access to these two. Notice that here I've gone to generative shape morphing, and when you look at the offset, there is two more items here: variable offset and rough offset that you can use, just like in CATIA V5. Now. The example that I'm going to be doing is following the CATIA V5 version in this video tutorial, and I'm going to be very closely following that, but in the context of 3D Experience CATIA. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some examples. First thing I'm going to do is create a surface using a cylinder primitive and then offset it. So if you go to your surface design right there, obviously generative shape design, if you let's select the surface tab and you expand the pull-up menu here, you see a cylinder. I'm going to select that. The point I'm going to create is going to create a point at the origin 000 and say OK. And for the direction that I'm going to offset the cylinder, create the cylinder, I'm going to use the x-axis. So yeah, let me make this length a little bit longer so that you can see it better, maybe 40. Yeah, good. So there we are. So this is a cylinder. It is a cylinder. It's a surface. Now, what I'm going to do is go to the transform tab. Here is offset. You click on it. It's asking you to select the surface. I'm going to select this surface, and it's offset by how much. Let me make it. For example, uh, 10 and see what happens. Preview, like right there. Now, if I say repeat object after validation, if you say this, it's going to come back and say, how many more do you want? Let's say I want 2 more, okay? And there's 2 options here, absolute and relative. I'll come back to that later. And for now, I'm going to say absolute, and it says create a new in a new body, in a new geometrical set, and you say okay. Good. So look what happened. A geometrical set has been created. These 2 offsets. The first one is that one, then repeated twice for a distance of whatever it was, 10 millimeters. Now, notice that I cannot change these things. If I double click on the original offset, I can change that. For example, I can say 20 and then say OK. It not only does the first one by 20 and then repeats it. You have to change them all. Now, let me control Z this so that it goes back to where I started. Now, if I do the same thing, go to transform with the transform tab and offset and select that surface. I put down, I believe, 10. Okay, and here repeat object after validation. Say okay. We're going to make 2. Now, if I select the relative here, see that relative here, relative, and then say okay. It does the same thing, except that you can go, if you expand this thing, you can go and actually change the value of the offset of any one of them that you want. So notice that you can actually go ahead and change. For example, if I go to this relative offset of the first one and make that thing 20, notice that it took the difference between these 2 and changed it by 20. If I go, for example, to this last one and say no, I want 5, 5. Notice that instead of 10, it takes 5. We could not have done this thing with the absolute selection. All right, so good. So that takes care of the first example. Let me start another one. So let me go ahead and generative shape design. Okay, I'm going to create a surface here, and the way I'm going to do that is a very simple surface based on drawing a spline and extruding it. So I'll draw a spline here. The shape of it doesn't matter. Okay, exit. Okay, exit. And then we create an extruded surface. So let me make this thing a bit longer so that we can see it better. Good. Now, this sketch I'm going to hide. All right, so if I go to the transform and go to offset and select that surface, the value of the offset, let's make it the surface and say preview. Notice that it did offset it by this amount. Now let's make it bigger a little bit. I'm going to make it 10. Preview. Yep. Down to 20. Preview. It reaches a point where it says I can't do it. So if I go back to, let's say, 18. Yeah. So now it is unfortunate because if I make this thing 8, it should be able to do it. Oh yeah, right there. Good. It's not unfortunate. Now, if I make this thing bigger gradually. 9. Preview, no problem. 10. Preview, no problem. 11. Preview. 12. 16. Yep. At some point, what happens is that the normal to the surface, they intersect each other. That's why it says I can't do it. If I go back to well, here, by the way, if you flip the offset, it may work. Well, in this case, it doesn't work because it probably causes a problem there. So let's try 8. Yeah. So even backwards, at some point it runs into a problem. So right now it's 8 is okay. You go to 9, no problem. You go to 10, no problem. You go to 11, no problem. 12, 13, 15, yep, it runs into a problem. Okay. The moral of the story is that the offset is taking place at 90 at normal to the surface, and if you make a big enough offset normal to the surface that's trying to create is going to go through itself, and therefore you won't be able to do that. Okay, so cancel that. All right, let me go and do this third example. So if you go to again generative shape design, my third example. Remember, I'm following that YouTuber's videos in CATIA V5 very closely. Now, I'm going to create another surface. So, for example, on that vertical plane, I will sketch. I'll sketch a line. Okay, exit. Let me move this thing a little bit down. Dimensions don't matter here, but right there. And then on this horizontal plane, I draw another line. Okay, and let me make these things the same length, just to make my job easier. So this is going to be, let's say, 180. Okay, exit. And I'm going to make this other guy 180 also, just to make my job easier. That's all. There's nothing magic about that. 180. Good. Exit. Now we're going to create two surfaces, extruded surfaces. One of them is going to be, let me go to surface. I'm going to extrude this thing up in the direction Z. I'll make it 100 millimeters, see how it looks like. Preview. Yeah, that's good. And then I make an extrude this thing in the horizontal direction. This is direction Y by the same amount. Now I want to put a surface between these two. Okay, so we have used blend before in the surface tab videos, and there is about 40-50 of them. A blend is discussed there. So I'm going to put a surface between these two, connecting these two surfaces. So first curve is here, and if I want my surface, blended surface, to be tangent to this, I select the support, first support. Second curve is going to be this curve that I drew here. Where is that the second curve that I drew? Let me see now. It's hang in there. Oh, yeah. For second curve is going to be that edge, and the support is going to be this one, because I want the blended surface to be tangent to both of these, and then we say okay. It gives this. Now you can also change the shape of that by changing the tension. Select the tension tab, and let's make it bigger. Let's see how it looks like. Preview. Yeah, something like that. All right, good. So we have a surface. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to join these. So essential under again transform, under join. I'm going to join this. Join is discussed in one of the videos. It will be discussed in one of the videos here later, because it's in the transform tab. But for now, let's just join it. Now we're going to go to surface, and sorry, transform tab, under offset. Okay, so we select that. Because we joined them, it selects both of them, all three of them at the same time. And let's give it an offset, so maybe 3 mm preview. Notice that yeah, if I change the direction, it's going to be inside either way. Now, if I start increasing these, at some point, it's going to cause it's going to run into a problem. So, for example, right now is okay, and then more. Because notice that the normal at some point of this surface is going to intersect itself. This is okay. Let's go more. Notice that there is some kind of a cut is being created there. Sharp, sharp, sharp. Okay, there we are now. And then we say, okay. It says I can't do the middle section. Now, it could be that if you go backward, it can do it, but this one inside can't do it. You say, okay. It says, all right, what I did for you, I did the best. I cannot do that guy, but do you want to keep both of them? Because it says there are two things which are disconnected from each other. Do you want to connect them? And the answer is yes. So keep all sub-elements right here, and then we say, okay, there. Now, what if we had done outward? Let's do it outward, see whether that works. So if you click on that and then preview, no problem. You can do the outside one. But for the inside one, and it's a different story. At some point, it runs into a problem. Now, uh, notice that I have not discussed the advanced option. We just talked about the basics. All right, folks? So that takes care of this video. Good luck.